Welcome back, everyone. We're going on another deep dive today. We're going to be talking about the Chicago L.
Ooh.
Specifically, we're going to be talking about the Green Line. The Green Line is the only one that's entirely elevated,
That's right.
which means you get constant views of the city as you zip along.
Yeah.
So whether you are planning a trip to Chicago, working on a project about Chicago transit, or just like insanely curious about it,
Huh.
by the end of this deep dive, you will be a Green Line
Guru.
guru. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is that the line's history is basically a microcosm of how Chicago itself grew.
Oh, interesting.
We're talking about tracks dating back to 1892,
Wow.
before most people even knew what a car was.
Okay, I'm hooked already. So for context, the CTA, that's the Chicago Transit Authority,
Right.
was formed in 1947. They run the buses and all the L lines,
Mhm.
serving over 10 suburbs, in addition to the city itself.
That's right. But the Green Line predates all of that by decades.
Wow.
The oldest sections were built to connect downtown to the 1893 World's Fair.
Oh, wow.
Imagine that. Your first L ride is to a massive World's Fair.
Talk about a grand opening.
It really is.
Okay, so this historic line is about 20.7 miles long,
Yeah.
with 31 stations.
That's right.
It starts way out west in Oak Park and Forest Park, snakes through the loop, and then heads south to West Englewood and Woodlawn.
Yep.
So let's break down the route and see where things get really interesting.
Okay, so right off the bat, that first section, the Lake Street Elevated, has a story to tell.
Okay.
In the late 1800s, the town of Austin really wanted the L extended their way, but they were part of Cicero at the time,
Oh.
and Cicero wasn't having it.
Uh-oh.
The fight got so intense that Austin ended up being annexed by Chicago,
Wow.
just so they could get the L.
So basically, the Green Line caused a political border change.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow. Talk about unintended consequences.
It really shows how crucial transportation is to a city's development.
Right.
And it's a theme that pops up again and again with the Green Line.
So after this dramatic beginning, the Lake Street elevated section runs alongside the Metra tracks for a bit before elevating above, you guessed it, Lake Street.
That's right.
This major east-west road takes you right into the heart of the loop.
Right in the loop. And here's where the Green Line does something no other line does.
Okay.
It goes both ways around the loop,
What?
using the Lake and Wabash sides.
Interesting.
Most lines just terminate there,
Right.
but the Green Line just keeps on going.
Okay.
And it shares these tracks with a few other lines, making it a pretty busy stretch.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Oh, it's a busy, busy area.
So after all that leaping around, it becomes the South Side Elevated, which, as we mentioned, is the granddaddy of the whole L system.
That's right, the OG.
The OG.
Those tracks are literally a living timeline, dating back to that original World's Fair line.
Wow.
They've witnessed over a century of change in Chicago.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is. And they run south until they split into two branches. The Ashland branch toward West Englewood and the East 63rd branch toward Woodlawn.
Okay.
And now, here's where we get into the ghost stations.
Ooh, spooky.
Right. These are stations that were closed after a massive Green Line renovation in 1994.
Well, okay.
They were either deemed too costly to upgrade or simply unnecessary.
Gotcha.
So we're talking about stations like Holman, Halstead, 58th, 61st University, and Racine.
Okay. So this is something for the listeners to ponder. Did closing these stations affect the surrounding neighborhoods?
Oh, for sure.
Did it contribute to economic decline or change commuting patterns? It makes you really think about the ripple effects of transit decisions, huh?
It's a great point. And speaking of decisions, that 1994 renovation was a huge deal.
Yeah.
The entire Green Line was shut down for almost 2 years.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine the logistical nightmare?
I can't even imagine.
But they pulled it off. And they've continued to make upgrades in recent years, trying to attract more riders.
Yeah, and it's not just about attracting new riders, it's about serving the existing communities better, right?
Got it.
There are new stations like Morgan Lake, which opened in 2012, and Sir Mac McCormick Place, which debuted in 2015. These serve the growing West Loop and near South Side areas.
Exactly.
And then there's the Garfield Station makeover,
Right.
blending the historic look of the 1892 station house with modern amenities.
Beautiful.
But the biggest recent news has to be the brand new Damon Lake Station,
I was just going to say,
which just opened in August of 2024.
huge news.
Think about this. That's a gap that's existed since 1893.
I know.
Over 130 years, without a station at that intersection.
It's crazy.
Can you imagine the potential impact on those West Side neighborhoods?
Absolutely.
For over a century, they've lacked this crucial connection.
Yeah.
Will this be a tipping point for the Green Line, attracting new businesses, residents, and visitors? Ooh. Only time will tell,
Yeah.
but it's definitely something to watch.
For sure. Yeah, it really does make you wonder how that new station will change things.
Yeah.
But we can't forget, for a long time, the Green Line was running those older 2400 series cars.
Right.
They had their charm, but
Right.
they were definitely showing their age.
I remember those, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
they were kind of clunky, right?
They were a little clunky.
Thankfully, they've been completely replaced by those sleek, modern Bombardier models, the 5000 series.
Yes.
They're a much smoother ride with digital displays and announcements.
So much nicer.
Plus, they're accessible, which is so important.
Absolutely. And not just the trains.
Right.
The CTA requires all buses and trains to be compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA,
Okay.
so everyone can get around easily. Most Green Line stations also have elevators or ramps.
That's great to hear.
It is.
So now we've got these shiny new trains running on tracks that are, in some places, over a century old.
It's pretty wild.
It's a cool blend of old and new.
It is.
But speaking of practicality, how often do these trains run?
Okay, sure.
What kind of wait times are we talking about?
Well, the Green Line operates from 4 a.m. to 1 a.m. on weekdays and from 5 a.m. to 1 a.m. on weekends.
Okay.
If you're traveling between Harlem Lake and Garfield,
Right.
which is that main stretch before the branches split,
Right.
you could expect a train every 10 to 12 minutes.
That's not bad at all.
No, not bad.
Makes those wait times a bit easier to swallow.
Yeah.
What about those branches down to Ashland 63rd and Cottage Grove?
Those branches have a bit longer wait,
Okay.
about every 20 to 24 minutes,
Right.
but that's pretty typical for lines with less frequent service.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know how often they run, but how much does it actually cost to ride this historic line?
Well, the CTA uses a contactless fare card system called Metra.
Right.
You can buy single-ride tickets, day passes, or even monthly passes if you're a regular rider.
Gotcha. And for those who love tapping their phone for everything, you can even use your smartphone to pay.
Exactly. Metra is super convenient and works with Apple Pay, Google Pay, and Samsung Pay.
Nice.
But technology doesn't stop there.
Oh.
The CTA has really upped its game with the bus tracker and train tracker systems,
Right.
which use GPS to give real-time location updates.
I love those.
Oh, they're so helpful.
Especially when you're trying to make a connection or avoid the rush hour madness.
Totally.
And the fact that they share this data with developers
Yep.
has led to some really cool third-party apps and services.
It's amazing.
It's incredible how technology has revolutionized public transportation.
It really has.
It's not just about getting from point A to point B anymore.
I agree.
It's about being informed and empowered as a writer.
Exactly.
I totally agree. But, beyond all the practical stuff, I'm curious about the experience of riding the Green Line.
Okay.
What's it actually like to be on those trains moving through the city?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, being entirely elevated gives the Green Line a truly unique vantage point. You're above the street, getting these panoramic views of the neighborhoods below.
Right.
It's like seeing Chicago from a whole new perspective.
Not just passing through, but actually observing,
That's it.
taking it all in.
Taking it all in, yeah.
And because the Green Line runs through such diverse neighborhoods, you get a real cross-section of Chicago life.
You really do.
From the leafy suburbs of Oak Park, through the bustling West Side, the heart of the Loop, and down to the historic South Side. It's like experiencing a microcosm of the entire city.
It's true. And it's not just about the visuals, is it?
Right.
There's a whole symphony of sounds that comes with the Green Line.
What do you mean?
The rumble of the tracks, the screech of the brakes, the announcements,
Right.
even the conversations of your fellow passengers. It's all part of the experience.
It's a multisensory experience.
It is.
And I think those sensory details are what make the Green Line so memorable.
I agree.
It's more than just a way to get around.
Right.
It's a journey, an immersion into the very fabric of Chicago.
Beautifully said.
Right.
And there's also a certain feeling you get when you ride the Green Line.
Like what?
The sense of connection, of community, of being part of something larger than yourself.
I get that.
I completely agree.
It's like everyone on that train, whether they know each other or not,
Right.
is in it together,
Yeah.
navigating the city and sharing this experience.
Exactly. And that, I think, is the real magic of public transportation.
What is it?
It's about connecting people, communities, ideas.
Fostering this sense of belonging.
Yes.
A shared
A
experience.
shared experience, that's it. And on a more philosophical level, maybe it's even a reminder that we're all in constant transit, both literally and figuratively.
Oh, I like that.
The Green Line, with its history, challenges, and triumphs, really reflects that, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
It does. But before we get too philosophical,
Okay.
I think it's time we turn our attention to something we briefly touched on earlier. Public art?
Oh, yeah, the art. It's not something you usually think about with public transit, but the CTA actually has a surprisingly expensive public art program. They've incorporated art into many stations, old and new.
It's fantastic. It's a fantastic way to transform these utilitarian spaces and add visual interest. And the art itself often reflects the diverse communities that the Green Line serves.
So are we talking murals, sculptures? What kind of art are we talking about here?
It's a really eclectic mix. You'll find mosaics, stained glass, sculptures, even some interactive installations.
I remember seeing those vibrant mosaics at the Cermak McCormick Place station.
Yeah.
They really brighten up the space.
They really do.
And at the Garfield station, they've incorporated historical photos and artifacts into the design,
I love that.
adding this wonderful layer of historical context.
Yeah.
It's like a mini museum right there in the station.
It is. It is. And it's clear that this art is about so much more than just aesthetics.
What else is it about?
It's about enriching the experience of riding the Green Line, making it more than just a transactional experience.
Right.
It's about engaging riders, sparking their curiosity, and fostering a sense of place.
Making the Green Line a more welcoming, vibrant space for everyone.
Exactly. And it highlights the CTA's commitment to supporting local artists and showcasing their creativity.
It's a total win-win.
It is.
Riders get to enjoy these incredible works of art, and artists get to share their talents with a much wider audience.
Speaking of sharing, did you know the CTA even had a television show for a while called Connections?
Wait, really? A TV show about the CTA? I had no idea.
Yeah, it featured news and information about the CTA, its services, and its impact on the community.
Oh, wow.
I believe they even showcased some of the public art on the show.
That's so cool. Did they talk about anything else?
They highlighted the history of the L, upcoming projects, and even featured interviews with riders.
Wow.
It was a great way to connect with the community and build a sense of shared ownership over the transit system.
Yeah, I can see why they did that.
Yeah.
What a fantastic way to engage riders. Is the show still running?
Unfortunately not. But you can still find segments of it on the CTA's YouTube channel.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I know what I'm doing this weekend.
Yeah, you got some homework.
It's fascinating how the CTA has used different mediums to tell its story and connect with people.
It is. It really shows their commitment to transparency, communication, and community engagement.
Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of the line for part 2 of our deep dive.
Indeed. We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've explored the logistics of riding the Green Line, immersed ourselves in the sensory experience, and even delved into the philosophical and artistic dimensions of this iconic transit line.
We've really gone deep.
We have.
But our journey's not over yet.
Nope.
In part 3, we'll wrap things up by exploring the Green Line's connection to some of Chicago's most beloved attractions and contemplating its role in shaping the future of the city.
Can't wait.
Okay, so we've explored the history, like all the basics, even the art of the Green Line.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. But now let's talk about what this line can unlock for someone who's, visiting Chicago.
Right, because it's not just for commuters.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The Green Line is a fantastic way for tourists to experience different sides of the city.
Totally.
And it goes right past some major attractions that people might not even realize.
Okay, spill the beans. What are we talking about here?
Well, first stop on our Green Line tour, any sports fans out there?
Oh, I feel like we have a lot of sports fans listening.
Because this line will take you practically to the doorstep of the United Center.
Home of the Chicago Bulls.
Yes, and the Chicago Blackhawks.
So you can catch a game.
Exactly. Just hop off at the Ashland station and you're basically there.
Awesome.
But let's say you're more of a nature enthusiast.
Okay, I'm listening.
The Green Line also gets you super close to one of the largest and most stunning conservatories in the country.
Which is?
Garfield Park Conservatory.
Oh, yeah. I've actually been there. It's incredible.
Isn't it beautiful?
It's truly an oasis in the middle of the city. You can wander through all these different climate zones, see exotic plants, and just forget you're in Chicago for a few hours.
It's a great escape. Especially welcome during those brutal Chicago winters.
Couldn't agree more. But let's say you're in the mood for some, like, serious museum hopping.
I love a good museum. Let's go.
Well, the Green Line can help you out there, too. You can easily access the whole museum campus. That's the Field Museum, Shedd Aquarium, Adler Planetarium, all of that,
Whoa.
by making a quick transfer to the Red Line at Roosevelt Station.
Okay, so easy peasy.
That's a whole day's worth of exploration right there. Dinosaurs, sea creatures, the vastness of space. Something for everyone.
And speaking of iconic destinations, we can't forget Millennium Park.
Right, home of the bean.
I was going to say, how do we get to the bean?
Easy. Transfer to the brown, orange, pink, or purple line at Washington Wabash Station, and you're there.
Done and done.
It's got to be like the most Instagram spot in the city.
It's definitely up there. But Millennium Park also hosts tons of concerts, festivals, events throughout the year. So even if museums aren't your thing, there's always something going on.
Always something happening in Millennium Park.
The Green Line really does cover a lot of bases.
It really does. Whether you're into sports, nature, culture, or just soaking up that city vibe, the Green Line has got you covered. It connects all these experiences to diverse communities from the suburbs to the south side.
I love that.
It reflects the multifaceted nature of Chicago itself.
It's more than just a way to get around.
Totally.
It's a way to experience the city from all angles.
Well said.
But now, looking ahead, what does the future hold for this historic line? We've touched on potential expansion. What other challenges and opportunities are out there?
That's a great question. Funding is a big one. Public transportation is expensive to operate and maintain, and securing adequate funding is an ongoing challenge for any city.
Especially, yeah, in times of tight budgets.
Right. But I do think there's a growing awareness that investing in public transit is not just like a nice to have.
Yeah,
It's essential.
totally agree.
It's an investment in our communities, our economy, and our environment.
Right. And with its connections to so many vital destinations, the Green Line is really well positioned to play a crucial role in Chicago's future.
I think so too. And with continued investment, in efficiency, reliability, rider experience, the Green Line can continue to thrive.
I'm with you. I think the future is bright for the Green Line.
Me too.
It's a line with a rich past, a vibrant present, and a future brimming with possibilities.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
As we've seen in this deep dive, the Green Line is more than just a transit line.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of Chicago, its history, its present, its future. It's a line that tells a story,
It does.
and a story that continues to be written.
That makes me want to hop on and just see where it takes me.
Exactly. To everyone listening, I encourage you to experience the Green Line for yourselves. Take a ride, explore, and discover all the hidden gems and unique experiences this iconic route has to offer.
Because the Green Line is more than just a transit line. It's a journey, an adventure. It's a reflection of the city itself. So go explore, connect, and be inspired.
And until next time, happy travels.